But there was some interesting news, coming out last night that really shocked me, and that was, future Hall of Famer Rob Gronkowski announced if he would continue playing in the NFL, he would like to play with Joe Burrow. What are your thoughts on these remarks by Rob Gronkowski? And you think there's a possibility that Gronkowski could end up playing for the Bengals next season?
Yeah, whenever Tom Brady first announced his retirement, it kind of felt like we were just expecting it was only a matter of time before Gronk was going to follow in his footsteps and retire as well. I think that's what most people were expecting, at least I was, because Gronk's only on a 1-year deal this year. Tom Brady was able to swindle him into staying an extra year with him before he retired. It really kind of felt like this was Rob Gronkowski's final year in the NFL if he was going to leave with Tom Brady. But here we are. This seems like a guy that's still got some game left in him. He's still playing very well at tight end. I do think he's still one of the better tight ends in the NFL, even at the age of 33 right now. I do think he's a very, very effective tight end. And it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Joe Burrow is a very, very strong pull. He's a very swaggy quarterback. And honestly, I mean, I'm not, and I want to clarify when I'm saying this, I'm not saying he's the next Tom Brady, but you want to look at a quarterback who's closest to Tom Brady in the NFL right now, I would say it's Joe Burrow. I think he's the swaggiest. He is one of the most effective. He's a fantastic. He knows exactly what he's doing. It makes sense that he would attract Gronk, who's a fantastic tight end, who knows that he can be fantastic with Joe Burrow at quarterback. It feels like this is just the start of something really special for Cincinnati. Joe Burrow is going to attract so many free agents, and I think Gronk's just the first of many right now. And if the Bengals so choose to use him, I really do think he can be an effective asset to the team. I do think they can figure out a way to use both him and Uzomah on the field at the same time. This is a team that likes to run a lot of two tight end sets. They love to block with Drew Sample, of course, but Drew Sample's not the best tight end in the NFL right now. If you have CJ Uzomah and Rob Gronkowski both in the field at the same time, both have very, very good blockers, very capable blockers, and both are very, very effective receiving tight ends. I really do think Gronk's a guy who can get down the field farther and be able to get receptions down the field, while Uzomah's a guy that can catch the ball over the middle. So these are two very different tight ends who can play at the same time and be very, very effective. I do think if the Bengals are able to somehow swindle Rob Gronkowski to the Cincinnati, that's just another asset to add to this already stacked offense.
And this is basically the Joe Burrow effect. And you mentioned it when it was announced Brady was retired. It was, to me, it just felt like it was a matter of days for Rob Gronkowski announced that he was going to retire, because there was a time where Rob Gronkowski said the only quarterback he wants to play for was Tom Brady. I read that in an article just a week or two ago, and then we're hearing these crazy things that he said he would like to play with Joe Burrow, which would be so awesome to see him play in Cincinnati. And you look at our, offensive weapons. CJ Uzomah, he is a free agent, but if you get him back and you get Gronkowski, you're looking at, the best, tight end duo in the NFL, along with the best wide receiver trio in the NFL, top 5 quarterback and a top 10 running back. You could just slightly improve the offense line a little bit. We could be right back around, in the AFC Championship game and Super Bowl next season. And it's crazy because the Joe Burrow effect, when you look at how many, free agents we've signed the past year or two. And before Joe Burrow, we were not a team, who's going to sign some of these big free agents. Trey Hendrickson, that was a major signing. DJ Reader, Von Bell, Mike Hilton, some of these other guys. At the time, it seemed like Trey Waynes was going to be a big signing. He's been one of the biggest robbers ever, just basically just taking money away from the Bengals. But when all these guys wanting to play with Joe Burrow, and you're really starting to see it now, a guy like Rob Gronkowski, who has already retired once from the NFL, but, would like to continue playing in the NFL by playing with Joe Burrow, who I agree what you said there. He's not Tom Brady, but he's the closest thing to it. That was basically, some people's comparisons for him, coming out of the draft. Obviously it's really kind of ludicrous to compare him to Tom Brady, the most, accomplished quarterback ever, best player of all time. But when you look at their style of play, they're very similar, and just their competitiveness to win. I feel like that's part of the reason why, Gronkowski would want to play with Burrow, and just how great he is. First 4 seasons leading us to the Super Bowl. It's just surreal knowing. 2 years ago, I was at the game when we played the Jets, and that was, Taylor's first win as a head coach when Dalton, broke some of the, franchise records. That was one of the lowest games in franchise history for attendance. And now, we're breaking records and attendance, in the postseason. We're in the Super Bowl. It's just crazy how a couple years make. And, now, we are one of those teams the past couple of years, signing these big free agents, where in years past, we are not used to that. And I feel like a big reason of that is because of Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow has the entire city of Cincinnati excited, and I really do think that is rubbing off on a lot of the players as well. This is a team that I think everyone believes that Cincinnati is a team that is going to be in contention for years to come. And I think Gronk wouldn't want to go to Cincinnati if he didn't believe that himself, which says all you need to know about where Cincinnati's heading and trajectory-wise. He knows that this is a team that is very capable of going to the Super Bowl several years. I really think Gronk thinks that Cincinnati could be a dynasty because of how great Joe Burrow and this team has been in general this season. So I do really think that there's a lot of potential to Cincinnati and their football team in the next couple of years, because I not only is Gronk going to want to join, you're going to have a lot of other star players who are going to be very interested in joining this team. And this is still a team that's top 3 in the NFL right now, or top 4 in the NFL right now in cap space. I believe it's top 3. And after you cut Trey Waynes, you'll probably be even at 2 at this point. So not only are you in the Super Bowl right now, you also have 9 draft picks next season. You also have you'll have well over $60 million in cap space to use in free agency. This is a team that can go out and get stacked next year and have a super team if they so choose.
And, when you think of free agents, with some of the bigger free agents we've signed the past couple of years, and somebody else, when you think of Trey Hendrickson and Von Bell, and even Eli Apple, those guys coming from New Orleans, who's to say maybe we kind of shot the NFL instead of another marquee free agent and signing Teron Armstead, really beefing up our offensive line. I mean, getting Teron Armstead, Wes Gronkowski, and if we can retain Uzama and Bates, holy crap. There is a reason why people say there is a chance we can become a dynasty, because when you look at after this year, Joe Burrow still has 3 years in his contract. T. Higgins has 2. Mixon and Boyd are locked up for a couple more seasons. Jamar Chase has 4 years on his contract. Logan Wilson has several years left. And these key guys who are on rookie deals, I know it might be an issue a couple of years from now trying to retain all these guys, but the fact that we are already in the Super Bowl in Joe Burrow's first full season and we still have these guys for several more years, it's really hard to say. I'm not trying to be cocky or biased, because it's really annoying when you have some of those fans who are always biased, but I know I've said it a couple of times, it's hard for me to say there's not something big that's stopping the Bengals being in the AFC Championship game or Super Bowl, because when you have these guys locked up for several years, we really could become a dynasty and kind of be what some people consider the Chiefs have been the last several seasons.
Yeah, without question. I mean, Joe Burrow does not make the highlight plays someone like Patrick Mahomes does. He doesn't have the insane arm or the crazy no-look passes, but I don't remember many plays this year where Joe Burrow just flat out made the wrong play. This is a guy that goes out there, always makes the right decisions at the right time. And just like how Tom Brady is, he's a game manager. He knows exactly what to do when. He knows how to pick apart a defense. And honestly, I think once he has an NFL offensive line, there's a very, very good chance he could be at the top of quarterback stats in almost every single category next year. I really do believe that. If he has protection, this is a guy that is unstoppable in general. He's already really hard to stop with a terrible offensive line. You give him Rob Gronkowski, Teron Armstead, and some other offensive linemen, imagine what this guy's going to do. He is going to be unstoppable.